misconceptions, right? So if you went to something called Safe Grad Night, in America, it's really common. It's to keep people who are graduating from high school off the streets and in a confined space. And I recall this hypnotist on stage asking for volunteers. And I kind of was rolling my eyes a little bit thinking, yeah, I'm too headstrong to, be talked into barking like a dog in front of my entire graduating class. Like, no thanks, but let's kind of see what happens. And then, the people that were raising their hands, they were a little more outgoing anyway, and they were barking like a dog, quacking like a duck. And I just kind of thought, okay, this is silly. It's fun. It's interesting, but what's the value here? So that is completely different. There are some techniques that can be used where that state is actually real for people. Other times it's not. But what we're going to be talking about today is not hypnosis, it is hypnotherapy. So hypnotherapy is trauma-informed. Practitioners go through a series of trainings where it's about focusing on real life issues like overeating, smoking, skin picking, low self-worth behaviors, circling thoughts. It can also be used in place of anesthesia. So it's this really powerful tool that a trained practitioner can really help change behaviors for you in your life or implement different thought patterns if the ones that you have that are on repeat are really putting you into some sort of spiral and it's not the highest expression of where you'd like to go in your life. A little bit more information about the subconscious. So the subconscious mind is programmed in between the ages of 0 and 7, meaning that when you are very first born, you're like a sponge. You are taking in so much information, and what people say around you about money, what people say around you about relationships, even what you are silently observing. Oftentimes, small children, before they even are actively engaging in conversations that much, they have an understanding that is a lot deeper than what a lot of adults around them may be aware of. So, there can also be misinterpretations or meaning made of certain activities, phrases, behaviors that the adults in their lives or even their peers or siblings stated at one point. And let's say that person, maybe it's even you, creates meaning about yourself that holds you back into your adult life. And oftentimes these phrases, these instances, it's not always necessary to go back to the very moment, like, okay, when I was 3, actually, I remember my aunt said this, and then I made it mean this about myself. Sometimes having that knowledge doesn't actually liberate you. I know I've had plenty of clients who had spent so many years in traditional talk therapy, which I think I have many friends who are working therapists. I think that it's a great modality. However, if you find that you are talking in circles about your trauma and actually not moving forward, having that logical awareness of what the issue is doesn't always heal it. So this is a way. It's a great accompaniment if you feel you're stuck in a rut in your personal growth journey, if you would like to try something different to get a different result. It's about neuroplasticity, which states that you can create new neural pathways in your brain, new ways of showing up in the world, new ways of feeling, basically the embodiment of what you think your best self could be. The reason that you even have that thought is because it is possible for you. And sometimes you just need a little bit of help to get over those hurdles. And I'm going to also share a story about how I got into this work and it actually illustrates a key point that will help you find the right practitioner for you. So, of course, many serendipities in life. Pre 2020, well, this was 2018. At that point in time, I was hosting events pretty much every other night. I remember that particular summer, I had pretty much every weekend of the summer booked, except for one. And a dear friend of mine, I remember she asked me, hey, I got a ticket to go to this personal growth conference. I can't go. I think it would be perfect for you. You just came to mind. And I said, I'm probably booked, but let me see. And of course, it was that one weekend that I was actually free. And it was the Hive Global Leadership Summit. So I hadn't been to anything quite of that caliber before. There were a lot of household names in the personal growth space that were both speaking and attending, which was really cool. And I really sort of, it was a sort of environment where people weren't really wearing name tags. You were sitting at lunch, having real conversations, human to human. And one of those conversations during lunch was with a woman. I remember I sat down, blonde hair at the time, at least. And she said, "I love your energy." And I'm like, "Oh, why, thank you." And, we just started talking and just really connecting on what felt like a friend, sort of sister level. And then, we parted ways. It was time to go back into the sessions. There were 5 breakout sessions. I had every intention of taking all of the business track ones. I believe there was a PR one that I was most curious about. However, Mariana Grace is her name. She is a hypnotherapist based in San Diego, California. And she got up. She was the woman that I was just speaking with. What are the odds? And she says, "I would love to invite you to join me in a group hypnosis experience." So I know a sign when I see one. I decided, let's go to that session. Let's see how it goes. And I was hypnotized. There was no doubt in my mind that I was in an altered state. And part of me was a little bit scared, like, what is going on? Another part was really relaxed. And, I was like, this works. This thing that I never thought could work for me is working. How is that possible? And from there, I went on to hire my own hypnotherapist. And then from there, I went on to study at the Hypnotherapy Training Institute throughout 2020, earning my certification in October of 2020. And since then, I've infused this into my practice. And to circle this back with how you can find the right practitioner, it really comes down to trust. Do you trust this person? Because, for example, that person that was having people quack like ducks, I'm like, don't trust that person. I don't invite them into my subconscious mind. No, thank you. However, having a real conversation with someone and, where and then there simply being an invitation extended was what really helped me open up to the possibility of something that became really instrumental and therapeutic in my own life that now I get to use to help my coaching clients. So yeah, it's one of those situations where if you do not trust the practitioner, and what can also contribute to trust is, let's say, in-person interaction, certainly, knowing someone over time, or it can be reading testimonials, seeing testimonial videos. It can be if, let's say, they have a YouTube presence or a podcast, go ahead and binge their content and get really familiar with how they are, who they are, and decide for yourself if they truly resonate, because you will get the most out of the work with that sense of trust. And only you can answer that for yourself. Sometimes it's about referrals and recommendations, certainly, but also I really invite you to check in with how you're resonating with how someone is showing up. And so, what you can expect in an actual session. So I have conducted, since I was certified in 2020, a majority of my sessions have been virtual. However, my training was in person. So I'm well-versed in both. So I'm going to kind of give you a lay of the land for what you can expect in pretty much either scenario. So whether you are at home or whether you are at a clinic or an office, you'll want to wear comfortable, loose-fitting clothing. So maybe some stretchy pants, some leggings, maybe, a top that doesn't have too much structure, something cotton, something just that you can relax in, right? Because the whole point of this session is not for you to be thinking about, oh gosh, like I'm holding in my stomach because there really isn't any give in this fabric. No, like this is about you relaxing and experiencing a sense of surrender so that you can get the result that you want. So you'll start by getting comfortable. You can typically be seated or lie down. Typically, the level of relaxation that people get to is so relaxed that I say, go ahead and lie down. There's a chance that you'll fall asleep. However, because we are working with your subconscious mind, it's okay. You don't need to force yourself to try to stay awake. So one of the key elements here is actually going to be looking up in between your eyebrows, not moving your head, right? So looking upward towards what's called your pineal gland in your brain. Dr. Joe Dispenza has done a lot of research, speaks a lot about how the pineal gland is calcified in so many people. And the pineal gland is a part of the brain that's really attuned, helps you attune to your own intuition, helps you attune to essentially your access to information, a higher power, whatever you really choose to believe. There is science and mysticism in the pineal gland. You can certainly look up more information about it. But the idea is to be looking upward and then allow your eyelids to close down while your eyes are still rolled back. That allows you to be more susceptible in the experience of hypnotherapy. And, there is a 4-part phase. So there's going to be an induction where you are sort of being brought into this altered state. And then there's going to be a deepener where, let's say that you're already sort of on your way into this hyper relaxed state. Then you're going to go even deeper than you thought you could. And then after that, you're going to receive a series of suggestions that are especially formulated for you and achieving what your goals are. And then from there is a period of emergence where the session winds down, you are gently lulled out of the experience, and some practitioners allow some space to be able to talk about what came up for you. Sometimes clients have something to say. Other times there's just such a sense of peace and relaxation. Feedback that I typically get is, wow, every single muscle relaxed in my body. I can't remember the last time I felt that relaxed. And maybe they don't want to talk, and that's okay. There's no pressure to, have this amazing insight, because again, this is not about your conscious mind. This is about your subconscious mind, and the results speak for themselves. And typically, while a one-off session can be really helpful, there are several studies that suggest that the sweet spot is in between 21 and 40 days. So I typically recommend that clients spend 30 days every single day, including that same day of the session, listening to the customized hypnotic track to reinforce the experience that they just had. And this really allows for the integration of these new thoughts. And then from there, it is real lasting change. And you can decide if you want to then listen to that track, let's say once a month, once a year, once a decade. It really, at that point, the new beliefs are set. It's really a matter of maintenance, depending on how deeply rooted that belief was in the first place, right? So we've gone over a few things here. At a high level, we've talked about what hypnosis is, how you're getting into an altered brain state, how it is therapeutic by nature, my story of how I got into it quite serendipitously, and also how to go about the most important things in finding the best practitioner for you, and what you can expect from a session. And I'll also add that it's most powerful to to really hone in on one thing, right? So sometimes that can be self-worth, self-love, confidence. Oftentimes what you believe the issue is, there is something at the root of it. So let's say if you are wanting to be comfortable with greater visibility as a business owner, let's say that you are wanting to speak up in meetings. Let's say that you have perpetual relationship conflict and you realize time after time that you're the constant. What's going on there? So, it's really an opportunity to get curious and to share with your practitioner what the issues are that are in your conscious awareness, knowing that a skilled, trained professional will be able to identify what's underneath the surface of what you've shared and help alleviate it from the root level. So if you have any more questions about this process, just know that I am here. Go ahead and any questions that you have related, let me know. I'm happy to see how I can be of assistance here. And with that being said, I would like to thank you for tuning in to this episode of Holistic Ambition. This is Stephanie Thoma saying goodbye for now and inviting you to take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. Until next time.